Hello there, my name is Ellen. I'll be correcting this set of essays for you today. Let's take a look at what you've written. Why do people own rather than rent? Is this positive or negative? Let's see. Okay. Or rather, why is it important to own? That's actually the question. Okay. Let's see. Nowadays, in some nations, people believe it is vital to possess a residence. Careful here. When you use than, you have to use more or less. There is no more or less here, so let's put one in there. Nowadays, in some nations, people believe, yeah, but you can't use more because you've used vital. Vital is a word that is an absolute, okay? So, in other words, you can't grade it. So you can't put a more here. So what we can do instead is we can put more here, but we can put it with an adjective that can be graded, like important. Let's see, is it important in here? It isn't. Okay. So we want to change it around a little bit. Let's see. How about we do this? Nowadays, in some nations, people believe it is better to possess a residence than to lease one. In this essay, I will talk about some reasons for the situation and why I think this is of benefit for our society. Okay, fine. There are two possible reasons why people believe owning a home is their first priority. The primary one is that it can be considered as a sign of success in some cultures. For instance, in China, many residents work hard to earn as much money as they can to buy a nice apartment. Thus, their parents and relatives feel very proud of them, and they can also get a sense of achievement from having their new home. Secondly, purchasing a house or an apartment is also a good way to invest. When the local economy is growing, people who have already bought a home can gain some profits from the increasing housing prices. Okay. I think maybe you could have added something about this. You may want to consider also maybe having a conclusion sentence, just that like links it back. Something like therefore, it is clear that there are valid reasons why people prioritize owning a home. Something like that would have been nice here. All right, let's keep going. In my opinion, I believe that possessing a home is beneficial for many individuals. The first reason is that when citizens have a home of their own, they can get a sense of belonging from it. In other words, people who live in their own places will feel more secure and have a stable environment to live and work in. In addition, when family members are living in a home, they can build a better family bond with each other, leading to a loving atmosphere in which to raise children. Okay, again, I feel like you needed a conclusion statement here, but I want to add something else to that. I don't understand why this happens when you own a home. Can't this also happen when you rent a home? So this for me was not really a particularly convincing argument. People will say that IELTS is not an ideas exam. It's a language exam. And while that's true, you still want to make sure that your ideas and your arguments are logical. Okay. So this for me was not particularly logical. Uh, let's see. Also, I would again advise you to have a sentence that really wraps everything up. So, thus, the benefits of owning a home are clear. Okay. So, in conclusion, why people prefer to have a home is mainly because it can give us a sense of success and they can earn some profits from the growing housing market. Meanwhile, I believe it is of benefit for people because it can offer us a sense of belonging and build a strong family bond, which is important to establish a harmonious society. Okay, so I felt that your language was really lovely, really good grammar. You had a nice wide range of expressions. Um, there wasn't anything that was particularly uncommon or, maybe very high level. But you know what? It doesn't matter because it was all very precise and accurate. So it doesn't even bother me that, maybe there wasn't some less common vocabulary. That's a little bit of, it's a little bit of a myth that you have to use this like rare vocabulary in order to score well. You actually did a really nice job with your vocabulary. So, and it was all accurate. So it's more than enough. I thought this was very well written. I do feel like there might need a little more development, as I've already told you. I suggested rounding off your paragraphs with a nice conclusive statement, but I also think that perhaps you could have gone just a step further in developing your ideas. One thing that I want you to do when you write is, okay, you write a sentence and you support it. Okay, so you write an idea, you support it. After you support it, I want you to ask yourself two questions: why, how? If there is an answer to one of those two questions, then you want to write it in your essay. Okay, this is how you will know you are fully developing. When you've run out of whys or hows, there is no why or how because you've explained everything, then you know you've developed fully. Okay, but I thought this was a really, really well written essay. Let's take a look at what else you sent us. Okay, so we've all seen this one before. You've got a pie chart and a table. Let's see what you did here. So the pie chart gives the main reasons of global land degradation. The table illustrates how the causes impacted three regions in the 90s. Does it say the 90s? Really? I don't see that. I don't know why you say it's the 90s. Maybe it was in the prompt itself. I don't know. But if it's not here, then don't include it, okay? Overall, the biggest reason for land degradation was overfarming, and Europe had the largest proportion of degraded land. Fine. It's farming, right? Let me just double check. Well, you said farming, right? Yeah, okay, that's not entirely true because look, you've got over cultivation at 20%. Overgrazing is not really farming. That's your largest percentage here. Overgrazing is, having the cows and the other animals eat too much of the greenery or plant life or whatever. So I don't think this is accurate. I think you should have said overgrazing. Maybe it was just a typo, but it's an important typo. Okay, so please avoid something like that. Regarding the pie chart, overgrazing there you go, accounted for the biggest cause of degradation, which was 35%. This is followed by cutting down trees and too much cultivation, representing 30 and 28% respectively. However, other reasons were the lowest. Don't use this which was. I want to tell you this here too. You could have just said at. So we're the lowest at 7%. Here, but the biggest cause of degradation at 35%. It's a much cleaner way of saying it. It sounds better and is more accurate. Okay, I thought this was fine. I wonder if maybe you could have done something else with this. So if you take a look, you've got this 7% is 1/5 of overgrazing, right? And this other is also 1/4 of overcultivation. So maybe you could have done this kind of comparison here. Instead of doing that, all you really just did is you said, okay, this is 35, this is 30, this is 28, this is 7. And what some examiners will call this is mechanical, meaning that it sounds something like a machine would do. You want to include maybe some comparison, some sort of critical thinking about this, not including something that was not in the diagram, actually just making some connections within with the numbers. So, maybe you could have said something else like these two categories where this was followed by, no, maybe you don't want to do it there. Yeah, or just something like representing 30% and 2% less. I don't know, something like, do you understand what I'm saying? So make some comparisons, show how these numbers react and relate to another. So here you could have said, however, other reasons were the lowest at only 7%, which was 1/5 the figure of overgrazing. Okay, so you're making comparisons here. You're showing how these relate to one another rather than just being mechanical about it. All right, let's keep going. In terms of the data for, no, in terms of the data from the different regions, the biggest land degradation happened in Europe at 23%. The main reason was deforestation, which accounted for 9.8%, and the least one was overfarming at 5.5. Let's see, Europe, yes, and yes. Fine. The proportion of land degraded in Oceania was 13%. Overgrading was the major cause at 11.7, followed by deforestation at only 1.7. However, overcultivation was not responsible for any harm. Good. North America had the lowest percentage of damaged land at only 5%. It was mainly due to overcultivation at this, and the least was a loss of forest at 0.2. Okay, I think this was lovely. Let's see what you could have done here. Is this 180 words? At 180 words, I'm actually okay with that. Let's see. Yeah, 178 actually. Yeah, so I was fine with your word count. I thought you did well. You actually included all of these. I'm wondering if maybe I think there was one place where you left one figure out, which is fine because you have to mention the categories. That's absolutely the case. Okay, you have to mention all four of these, and you have to mention all three regions. You did all of that. From there on, what you want to do is you want to select the important figures. Like I said, I think you left one out, which is good because you don't want to include everything. That becomes a little too detailed, and then the meaning is lost. The important areas are lost. So, let me see. Maybe you could have, let me see. I think you mentioned two, right? Yeah, actually, you know what? I think you did okay because you didn't mention all three, except for I think Oceania. Let me see. Yes, that's right. The main was this, Canada, and the least. Good. So you didn't mention the middle number. Fine. Let's see here. Okay, good. Here you mentioned all three. And then here, 5%. Yes. Okay. Yeah. So you know what? I think you did fine. You left out two of the figures, so it's not like you mentioned all 12 in this chart. I think you did a good job. In general, I think you're absolutely on the right track. You're doing really well. So this was very strong. It was very strong. A couple little things with the grammar, not really big things. And remember what I mentioned about, making connections, making comparisons. I thought you did well. You don't want it to feel mechanical. All right, that's a big one here. All right, so I want to thank you for sending in this set of essays. You're definitely on the right track. If you would like to continue working with us and getting feedback for your writing, then please take a look at the links in the email you'll get from us, showing you how you can continue working with us. I think that if you would like to get more feedback, then I think an essay correction package would be just wonderful for you. So you can try different tasks, different types of questions, and we can continue to help you along the way for IELTS. Okay, so I look forward to working with you, and I want to wish you lots of luck.